All right, well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for coming out today to recognize some of our very best authors in Medina County. My name is Mike Kovack, your county auditor, and it's my pleasure to welcome our 10 winning authors here today for our Memorial Day contest. Each year, with the assistance of my home VFW Post number 1089 in Wadsworth, we sponsor this contest to challenge our middle school youth to contemplate the meaning and significance of Memorial Day. Each year, we're thoroughly impressed with the entries from across the county by those students, and this year is no different. The judging, which is done by employees of my office, is always difficult, and our 10 students with us today have been judged the very best in Medina County. So congratulations, guys, and well done. Before we hear from our students today, I want to recognize a couple members of my staff with us, without whom this contest couldn't happen. Deputy Auditor Beth Kilchman is a Wadsworth resident, and she is the former director of the Red Cross here in Medina County. And Kim Fetty is a Buckeye High School grad, that's why I double-checked that this morning, currently living in York Township. These two very talented individuals actually do all the legwork for the contest, so let's give them a round of applause also, please. We also have two very distinguished gentlemen with us today from Wadsworth Veterans of Foreign Wars Post number 1089 in Wadsworth. Mr. Tom Fatcherick, who told me today this is his 50-year reunion of enlisting in the Army, and he's with us here today, and retired Chief Navy Petty Officer Tim Ryan, with whom I served in Iraq in 2006. They're going to help us hand out awards, so let's give them a round of applause also. If you guys need me to help you up, let me know. We've got several educators with us here today, and we appreciate you coming out to support the students. From Wadsworth, we have Rob Earl and Sandy Mueller, and from Brunswick, Ms. Wagner. So thank you guys very much for encouraging your students to participate, and thanks for coming out. At this point, we're ready to bring our winners to the podium to read their essays. And we are going to start with our fourth place winner from the 6th grade. Please welcome Addie Beck from Wadsworth Central Intermediate.
Dear soldier, some people overlook the fact that thousands of men and women go out to war and risk their lives just to protect people they don't even know. I want to thank you for going out to war, fighting and risking your life just to protect your country. It takes a brave person to stay away from your family for long periods of time and to fight in far-off places. You do these things every day, and I'm very thankful for that. To fight in a war, you have to make lots of sacrifices, like staying away from your family, traveling to faraway places, and even risking your life. These things are very hard to do and cannot be done by just anyone. You show selflessness just signing up for any branch of the Army. You put others before yourself, which is a skill no one can teach. Given the choice of going out to war or staying home with your family, you chose going out to war. Many people would choose the other option without thought, which is why we need to take the time to thank the few people like you that go out to war. Thousands of miles away from your friends and family and risking your own life to protect your country. There are the gruesome battles that never leave you and the haunting memories that you never forget, but you still chose to go even knowing what was to happen. I can't thank you and all the other soldiers enough for everything you've done to protect your country. You got to choose, and you chose going out to war. It takes many qualities to do something as amazing as that. Selflessness, strength, and courage are just some of them. Soldiers like you have all those qualities. You risk your life just to protect your country. I can't get over the fact of how hard it must have been for you to go out to war, but you still did it. I could never have mustered up all the courage it takes to fight for your country. I just want to thank you again for everything you've done, for risking your life to protect your country and everyone in it, for going out to war and doing extraordinary things that many people can't do. I can't even begin to imagine how horrible being out at war must be. Staying away from your family and loved ones and going far away from home must be terrible. So I want to say thank you for everything. Sincerely, Addie Beck.
In third place, from Wadsworth Central Intermediate School, Hannah Parks.
A feeling of confidence and personal power comes from facing challenges and overcoming them. This quote reminds me of Memorial Day in many ways. First of all, the meaning of this quote is powerful, just like the men and women who have fought in wars and have died. The meaning of this quote is that being confident overcomes challenges. I think that soldiers have to be confident because if they're not confident, they can't overcome the challenges of fighting for our country. Also, I think that we the people have to be confident in our soldiers that are fighting for our country. We have to be confident that our country will win and confident that your family member will come home. Another reason this quote reminds me of Memorial Day is because it talks about personal power. Soldiers need to have the personal power to get up in the morning and fight. Soldiers also need to have literal personal power to defeat the country they are up against. We also have to have the personal power of believing and trusting in our soldiers that everything is going to be okay. This quote is very inspiring, just like our soldiers, and that is why I think this quote relates to Memorial Day.
In second place, for our sixth grade winners from Wadsworth Central Intermediate, Lexi Dunn.
Today we honor all of those who have fought for our country, for our freedom, and for our lives. We recognize those who have left their family for months at a time to protect us voluntarily. Most of all, we recognize the ones who have risked their lives to save ours. Those people are the reason we feel safe in our homes and aren't afraid to have our own opinions. When someone says hero, you might think of Superman, Spider-Man, The Flash, or Iron Man. Whenever I hear the word hero, I think of all the fearless men and women who fought for our country. They have courage, respect, and integrity. That is the best superpower of all. Those are the real heroes, and the best part is that they are real. So today, why don't you take the time to thank a veteran or soldier? It's the least we can do. Memorial Day is about remembering the ones who sacrificed their lives for our freedom. They gave up their lives. The least we can do is spend one day a year thanking them. If they didn't risk their lives, we wouldn't have the life and privileges we have today. Although Memorial Day is only once a year, we should celebrate veterans every day. Memorial Day isn't just a day you get off of school to hang out with friends or sleep in late. It is a day to recognize all the veterans for their courage, bravery, dedication, and honesty. To celebrate Memorial Day, some people put flowers by graves of those who have passed, while some people go to town parades or assemblies. Others even decorate a flag. Although many people do many different things to honor this day of remembrance, we all come together in the end for the same reasons.
And in first place among our sixth graders is Kaz Kojima.
America has gone through many national hardships, from the War of Independence to the Civil War to the attack on Pearl Harbor and to the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. America has endured years of war and experienced many months of oppression. Yet, America is a prosperous and thriving nation. What got America here? It is American soldiers in the armed forces who have given themselves to gain and protect our nation's freedom. They fought with total disregard of their own safety to preserve the ideal of our nation. Lance Corporal William Carpenter is one such soldier. He was a member of a coalition force stationed in Afghanistan. Carpenter and a fellow Marine were manning a rooftop security position on the perimeter of their base one morning when the Taliban initiated an attack with hand grenades, one of which landed inside their position. Without hesitation and completely forsaking his own safety, he moved toward the grenade in an attempt to shield his fellow Marine from the deadly blast. When the grenade detonated, his body absorbed the brunt of the blast, severely wounding him, but saving the life of his fellow Marine. Soldiers like Medal of Honor recipient Lance Corporal Carpenter have gone above and beyond the call of duty to guarantee the freedom we have today. I often marvel at the remarkable commitment and dedication of the men and women in the armed forces. They overcome difficulties of having to leave friends and family behind to go to the combat zone from where they may never come back. They often resolve the affairs of their own personal life to respond to the call of duty. I'd like to tell you a story of one soldier that I've always admired. Alvin York was called the greatest soldier in history in World War I. On October 8, 1918, during the Meuse-Argonne offensive in France, York's unit was ordered to go behind the enemy lines. Minutes after the American soldiers captured a German headquarters camp, some German machine guns were alerted. The German gunners swung their guns around and started shooting intensely. Several Americans were immediately killed. York's unit was pinned down, and he did not have time to think. He decided to do something about it. He took out his rifle and started single-handedly dispatching the gunners one by one. After about a dozen German soldiers were killed, the Germans surrendered. Corporal York brought all 132 captured German soldiers back to the American lines and was immediately promoted to sergeant for his heroic actions. Later, Sergeant York was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. However, before all his battlefield glory, fame, and honor, Alvin York had his own personal struggles. After being drafted by the United States government, York was faced with a dilemma. He had to make a choice, to fight or not to fight. He did not want to kill anyone, and killing a person for any reason was against his beliefs. But York finally resolved he should go to war. He realized the only way to bring peace was to fight, and in making this decisive decision that changed the course of history, York put the national priority before his own. Today, we enjoy the life with some fundamental safety. This privilege to live a peaceful life on our land was given to us by the sacrifices made by American soldiers who, surrounded by the enemy, thought more of the lives of future generations than their own. Many soldiers return from the battlefield and come home, only to face another battle against post-traumatic stress disorder. They suffer flashbacks, nightmares, and intrusive memories. Some take months, even years, to adapt to civilian life, to which they now feel somewhat distant after years of military life. President John F. Kennedy once said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." He reminded Americans not only to express our gratitude toward our veterans and soldiers in words, but to live by it. Whether it be by telling a serviceman your thanks, visiting a war memorial, or attending the annual Memorial Day Parade, let us live by our greatest appreciation to those who gave America her freedom.
We are now ready for our 7th graders. And in 4th place from Wadsworth Middle School, we have Hayden Hassinger.
What is Memorial Day? What is the purpose of this day? Why should we celebrate this day every year? These are the questions people ask sometimes. It is important to understand the true meaning of this day, because Memorial Day is not like any other day. It is a day to honor our fellow Americans who have sacrificed their own lives to help protect our country. Americans don't always take the time to think about the sacrifices that others have made for them. That's why it's important to take the time on this day to honor these amazing people. If we did not have all these courageous, amazing, heroic men and women serving our country, we would not have all these freedoms we have today. We don't always appreciate the services and sacrifices these men and women provide for the people they don't even know. We take for granted the fact that men and women would die for us so that we can do our everyday things in peace and safety. We would not have the rights and freedoms that we have today without the sacrifices these Americans have made. It is important to celebrate Memorial Day so that the Americans that have sacrificed their lives for our country are not forgotten. You can celebrate your amazing veterans on Memorial Day by doing simple things, like putting up your American flag, attending a Memorial Day parade, or thanking a veteran for their service. We all need to take a few minutes out of our day to stop and think about the amazing things our veterans have done for us. So maybe you haven't thought about the purpose and the meaning of Memorial Day in the past, but now you can celebrate and honor our veterans on this important day.
In third place from Wadsworth Middle School, Anthony Ripplinger.
I chose to interview my grandfather, Pete Ripplinger. As a young man, he attended Howard High School in Akron, Ohio. While there, he pursued his interest in becoming a printer. In completing his coursework in 1967, the world was beginning to change. At the time, the United States was engaged in the Vietnam War. The United States had a low number of men enlisted to fight. Therefore, they had to draft young men to fight in the war. The way they did this was kind of like today's game Powerball. For every day of the year, there was a selected number. If your number was called, you were summoned to serve the United States if capable. He was chosen for November 11th. So my grandfather then immediately packed his bags and went into basic training. During basic training, the commander learned his experience in printing. They pulled him out of the training to attend an apprenticeship. After he completed the area of training in printing, he was awarded with a card. This led him to getting his deferment. Because of this, he did not have to go on the front lines of war. He stated, "I won't lie, Anthony, I was very happy about that." At that point, he was then transferred to Hawaii. He was stationed there specifically to print maps for soldiers. The maps will locate where the soldiers should bomb and what areas where they could take to control of. He ended up serving from 1971 to 1973. Throughout our entire conversation, I understood how rewarding serving our country was for Mr. Ripplinger. He continued in telling me that my life experience in both printing and the Army has made me who I am today. Pete opened a business in Akron called Akron Lithoprint Company. He has been in business for over 40 years. My grandfather is one of the most successful people I know. In addition, our interview was both informative and interesting. Mr. Ripplinger provided me with an insight on service both to our country and business. In conclusion, my grandfather, Pete Ripplinger, is an inspirational and role model. What I do know is that he and all servicemen and women are heroes, especially those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. I'm thankful to have the opportunity to call one of my heroes my grandpa.
We now have our second place winner from Brunswick Edwards Middle School, Jared Chismar.
Remember to salute those who gave everything, the ones who sacrificed lives from Berlin to Beijing. They were there fighting in Bunker Hill. Their valuable lives ended by a British kill. They stormed the beaches of Normandy against all odds. They had to, for this is their ruthless job. Carrying their rifles to open a large breach, millions lost a man on that godforsaken beach. They fought in Gettysburg, Berlin, and France. To see the despair these men endured, you need but a glance. With bullets flying, machine guns firing, and gas throughout the air, these men jumped bloody trenches, while many wouldn't dare. To disrespect these men who gave you your freedom, that would be something that gave you the nickname Demon. To see their fellow soldiers bleed out on the ground, and to be tracked by many enemies, no matter human or hound. These men are like toy soldiers, many to fall down, run through the grass on fields, or the thick muddy brown. Barbed wire trenches, tanks and wrenches, and all the awful gore. Seeing these sights would rock any normal man to the core. Through the thick jungles of Nam these men ran, and now through the hot and arid deserts of Afghan. Many days these men fight, even if the fight goes long into the night. So make sure to remember those who made the sacrifices, because when they fought those battles, they paid the prices.
In first place for the seventh graders from Wadsworth Middle School, Brock Robertson.
This essay is called Patriotism. True patriotism isn't cheap. It's about taking on a fair share of the burden of keeping America going. This quote was by Robert Reich. Memorial Day is full of patriotism. We wear red, white, and blue. We salute the flag, go to parades, and sing patriotic songs. Some people may even visit the cemetery to decorate the graves of soldiers who have died. These are great activities, but they only seem to last for one day, and then our patriotism is packed away with the decorations. As Americans, we need to share the burden of keeping our country going every day. My grandfather, Master Sergeant William Robertson, is a fine example of sharing the burden of keeping America going. For 21 and a half years, my grandfather served his country in the United States Marine Corps. As the supply administrator, he served throughout the United States as well as Okinawa, Japan. He shared the burden of keeping our U.S. troops supplied and all they needed to defend our country. While he was away, his wife, my grandmother, raised my father and his brothers. This is an example of a family sharing the burden of patriotism on a daily basis. Another example of someone who truly shared the burden of keeping America going is my great-uncle, Corporal Frank Wilson. My great-uncle served in the United States Marine Corps. He was a helicopter crew chief. In 1965, during the Vietnam War, he became the ultimate patriot when his helicopter crashed at sea, killing him and his crew. Many others also gave their lives in the Vietnam War, and the patriotism their family showed by carrying on without them should make us all proud. Not all of us can spend our lives being in the armed forces, and most of us will not die in the line of duty, but we all can show our patriotism and keep America going. We can volunteer to care for those injured in service to our country. We can support the families of these currently serving. We can raise money for organizations that help military families or veterans hospitals. We can also donate our time to just listen. Listen to a story by a veteran. Learn about their lives. Give our time to children who have a parent in active service. Write letters to those currently serving to show our support. We also need to thank those who have served in any way. Their service is an example to us all. Let's make this Memorial Day the beginning of all daily patriotism. Let's all share the burden of keeping America going by helping each other and making our country the best it can be.
Rock Roberts. Is your grandfather here? Yeah. Come on around here. And Brock's grandfather's here too. You want to stand up? We're now ready for our 8th grade winners, and from Wadsworth Middle School in second place we have Aaron Morrison.
Memorial Day is a very important day. We celebrate this day to honor the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. My great-grandpa Charles Whited served in the Air Corps, also known as Air Force. My great-grandpa was in World War II. He passed away on August 3, 2003, after a short battle with lung cancer. He passed away when he was only 79 years old. Although I was only 6 months old when he passed, I've learned a great deal about him from my family and still learn new things about him every day. My great-grandpa loved his family and loved spending time with them, especially on the holidays. He had a collection of guns that were very old and antique. When he was younger, he used to like squirrel hunting. My mom said he used to call them pesky little critters who liked to chew on things. I will always miss him to this day, and I wish I had gotten to know him a little bit better. My mom's dad was very scared for him to go to war because he knew that he may never see him again. I think everyone was scared for him, and he was even scared for himself. He was always telling everyone how much he loved them and how he always had a cheerful spirit, my mom said. Not only was my great-grandpa Charles brave enough hero to fight for our country, but he was also fought to be my hero.
Is there any more? And our final essay of the evening, in first place for the 8th graders from Wadsworth Middle School, Ms. Mara Budd.
Have you ever thought about the people that have sacrificed for you? Well, that's what Memorial Day is all about. Do you ever think about the words in the pledge? We're reminded of the men and women who fight for us and keep us safe every day. They die for us Americans, and we should be beyond thankful for them and appreciate our lives. This day should not just be a sad day, but we should be proud that these heroes have saved our country and protected our privileges. I'm proud of this country and to be part of it. Memorial Day is one of the few holidays that celebrate the men and women who fought for us. Not only is it a day to celebrate, but to say thank you. Saying thank you is just one way to celebrate this day. One thing you can do is to visit a cemetery by putting flowers on graves of loved ones who fought for us. What do you do to celebrate Memorial Day? Do you think of more than just a day off of work? Do you thank the ones who are still alive that you know who served? Remember, always be thankful for everyone fighting for us, and always be thankful for our country.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for honoring these young authors here today. Why don't we give them one more round of applause? A nice job there. Memorial Day is a tremendously meaningful holiday for me, as it is to many, many others around our county and country. Hopefully, as you enjoy Memorial Day this weekend, this year, you will take a moment to contemplate the tremendous sacrifices made on our behalf by veterans throughout our history, and also the tremendous sacrifices made by the families of those veterans. Once again, I'd like to thank the Deputy Auditors Beth Kilchman and Kim Fetty in the back, and also the Wadsworth VFW Post and its members over here for sponsoring this contest. I'm Medina County Auditor Mike Kovack. Once again, thank you very much for being here today, and I want to wish you the very best for Memorial Weekend. Thank you very much.